Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm finishing off my crocus. The flowers are done. I've done a combination of satin stitch and weaving stitch. I ended up creeping in around those outer petals a little bit with satin stitch, and then those lines of beads, which I think you saw me put down in the last video. The base of the crocus flower bud I embellished, stayed away from the top. I just wanted a hint of stitching on this, so I'm really pleased with it. So today, to finish it off, a little bit of stitching through the leaves and a little bit of stitching on the bulb. So now I've just got to be able to get this on, this hoop. And it's getting tricky because there's beads everywhere. If one thought a little bit more forward planning wise, one would leave the beads until all the stitching was done, but one doesn't do that, it would seem. So I guess if a bead or two come off, I can always reattach them, but I think, so I've got beads over here on these little flowers as well, but I think I got it. Okay, little crocus. First of all, let's have a look at some green. I've actually re-sorted my threads a bit too. For months and months and months, I've had random threads lying on top of my embroidery boxes here, thread boxes, and this one in particular. So let me just come up a little bit. So I've tidied up, restacked it. A couple of them I've refilled because they're pearl cottons by the ball, mostly DMC, that are in a stand to my side here. So that I've got them all at my fingertips, I've just sort of refilled it. This one here, tidied up, and it's predominantly, you know, warm colours. These two just didn't fit in the next one. Now the next one seems to be the one I go to most because I'm always doing leaves, always have some stems, always seem to tend towards a yellow to lift the centre of something. And then I thought, well, I'm going to bring across from this one all the greys because I don't have a lot of greys. Then I left those in there because often I'm doing greens that have that turquoisey, oh gee, I've got sidetracked, turquoisey green look. And then I thought, well, I might as well throw in some beige. So I'm thinking when I'm filming, this is a pretty good range of threads to start with. And if I can't find it in here, I can bring this guy back. I have more browns, oranges and beiges. So that's sort of what I've got at my fingertips. I have one other container that sits beside me on the table, which is sort of my dumping container. So often I find that these are the most used within my stitching. So I sort of have them sitting close, especially all the beiges. So every so often I will pull the browns and the greens out, but this just seems to be my little dump spot. A quick little hoop, scrap bit of calico, but yeah, this is to the side of me. And I'm thinking this is predominantly, it might be because I'm doing all this botanical stuff, stitching, that I have created this. And I'm hoping that every colour I need is pretty much now at my fingertips, bar two other containers, which I'm very pleased with. So let's have a look at this crocus. These leaves are interesting because they could go brighter or darker. And I'm looking at all these greens thinking, what am I going to do? That one there's calling out to me. It's a pretty common thread colour I use. I'm thinking this little guy is worth a try. We might break it down to 3 strands. I'll have a little stitch and see how that looks. And then I just sort of don't want to overcomplicate the leaves because I want the paint to be the feature. Go to all that effort of putting paint around and then go and cover it all up with stitch. It's sort of, this project's helped me pare back, I guess, my stitching. It's not an intensely stitched flower. If you want an example of an intensely stitched flower, where are some examples? Well, look, I'll grab my first Fleur wood piece. That's intensely stitched, especially this guy. These, the leaves, these guys here. So it's sort of going from one extreme, like those there. I'll bring it up to the screen. And then pairing it back to something like this, which is just a smattering of thread. It's been quite an interesting exercise. Really does pay to challenge oneself and say, all right, this next project, I'm going to do a third less work on it than I would normally, or I'm going to double the amount of work I would normally do. Unless, of course, you've found your rhythm and you just like a certain style, well then go for it. It's just a case of settling into your project then, I guess. But I've sort of never been that type of creative. I've always, ooh, what's that? What's that over there? Let's try that. Oh my goodness, let's try that. I guess if there's a shiny object, the girl's attracted to it. A little bit of everything. Isn't that the spice of life? Yeah, so I haven't done that to a leaf, just a straight stem stitch down the leaf. I like that. I think that's going to be what we do there. Not very exciting, but that's okay. Less is more on this project anyway. I've got a little bit of thread left, so I've got a couple options. I could find a leaf, or I'm thinking I might go straight to the edge here and use that tiny little morsel to pop on the edge of my piece. It didn't last long, that piece, so I probably should have cut my thread from my little bobbin. My little yeah, is it bobbin? What do they call those things? Floss holders? Don't know. Gosh, there's so many different words for so many things within our stitching community, and it depends on what country you're in, what your heritage is, and sometimes it takes a little bit to go, oh, I know what you're talking about. In my country, we call it this. It's interesting, isn't it, the English language? Okay. I must tell you about a YouTube channel I found that I'm finding very, very informative. It's nothing to do with sewing. Let me just grab my phone and look up the last video. It's pretty much a round table with a heap of Hollywood stars sitting around it chatting. And very quickly they start talking to each other. So I guess what I'm liking about it is I'm seeing them more natural. Does that make sense? The very first one I did, which I thought was just such a lovely, lovely interview. There is a interviewee there. The Hollywood Reporter. And the first one I did was a round table with a few different actresses.
Unless you have a store.
Let me just get rid of the advertising so I can get a couple of the names for you. So the first table is Jennifer Aniston, Jodie Foster, Nicole Kidman, Brie Larson, Anna Saucy, Sofia Vigago, Vergagao, Vergagao. I always struggle with her name. And Naomi Watts. So it's a group of actresses sitting around a table. There is someone there interviewing them just to sort of prompt a question if it starts to slow down the conversation. So there'll be a little random question come in, then away they go again. So I watched 2 with female actresses. The second one I watched had Lady Gaga in it. Gosh, she's an intelligent young lady. Oh my goodness. She is very ahead in her thoughts compared to some. But then I thought, well, let's see what the boys all have to say. And I've only watched one video where it's males sitting around the table. And completely different type of conversation. I think I much preferred the girls. I sort of felt like I was sitting around with a heap of girlfriends chatting. So I don't know if I'll go exploring the boys' interviews, unless I guess there's an actor that catches my eye. But the ladies, oh, gee, it was good. So highly, highly recommend going over and having a look at that, especially if you're doing a bit of stitching and you just want to listen to something. Most of the videos are 1.5 hours, so it's good because if you've got 1.5 hours to sit and stitch, you pop on that video and then you can listen, and a lot of insight into their craft. That's probably why I liked it so much too, because I like listening to artists in general and how they process thoughts, creative thoughts. So that's a bit of a look into the world of movies. It's very, very interesting. They do touch a little bit on their personal life, but not a lot, which is good because, yeah, I don't really want to know too much about that. I'm more interested in, you know, how they process scripts, how they learn the scripts, or do they have to learn the scripts? You know, is it something they can pick up and memorize a couple lines and then pick it up again, or do they have to literally commit it all to memory and all those little techniques? So yeah, it's quite interesting. So if you're looking for something, I would recommend it to go and have a little peek at their world. I'll tell you who else impressed me, and even my husband, he was sitting there beside me, he's playing one of his computer games, and he was sort of just listening with one ear at these ladies chatting, and I think it was the one with maybe Lady Gaga, I'm not sure, but Renee Zellweger. Oh my goodness, she has the most poised conversation. You know, some people who you just are mesmerised by their voice. It's just, and the way she holds her sentences, there's no, I guess, I don't know, when I talk sometimes, you can tell when I'm excited about something, you can tell when I'm a little bit quiet. Renee's poise comes through. It's like she's from the 1800s chatting. Very interesting. And because she's chatting to them, not to us and an interviewee, you know, there's nothing, I don't think these women aren't very scripted, so to speak. I'm sure they've seen the rough topic because, you know, usually these celebrities don't put themselves out there until they know what's coming at them. There's usually a little bit of that. That the more they settle into the chit-chat, the more I think we get a snapshot of what they're actually like when they're sitting around their kitchen bench. And Renee, she is, oh, wow. I don't know, unless she's putting it all on, and I've been hook, line and sinkered into believing the mystique of the character she's presenting on the show. I don't know. If you guys get a chance to look at it, Just let me know what you think. Because I tell you someone else that, you know, you have those voices that just, you can't stop looking and listening. When I was younger, it was always Morgan Freeman. He had that soothing, mature, elegant way about him. And now the one that gets me a little bit is Aston Butler, I think it is. Aston? Yeah. He played Elvis. His voice, oh my goodness, really unusual, gravelly. It's like, you know, when you're listening to someone and then you look up and go, oh my goodness, you're actually young. But you've thought for the 10 minutes you've been listening to that voice that you're listening to someone who's in their late 60s, even older, mature, old, credible voice. And then you look up and go, oh my goodness, you're 22. I think Morgan Freeman was a little bit like that for me when I was young, because he sort of hit the movies about the time I started looking at movies, and I was like, oh, this man's voice, this man, he's got poise, he's elegant, he's a bit of a fan. And this young fella that played Elvis is sort of reminds me of those thoughts that I had when I discovered Morgan Freeman. Very interesting young man. And when he's sitting, this is the round table that I was watching with the boys, and he was one of them. I think Mark, I know who else was there that I've always been intrigued by. Disappeared for a bit off the movie scene, and he sort of alludes to it in the chat. Now I've gone blank. What was his name? He's an Irish actor. Oh, I just saw the video. Now I have to look it up. Sorry, guys. Needle and thread has been placed down on the table. She's gone off on another tangent. Let me just have a little look. Oh, Glenn Close is with Lady Gaga. That's interesting combination. Renee Zellweger and Jennifer Lopez, Scarlett Johansson is the three in the next one. There's a couple other ladies as well. Here it is. Aston Butler, Brendan Fraser. Gosh, he's an emotional man. He sounds like he's been through a bit. Adam Sandler. Could give or take Mr. Sandler. I think I'm a bit...
This is my first link.
I think I'm a bit over his movies. They're my husband's favourite. I think I'm a bit sick of them. Colin Farrell. He's an interesting character too. I remember him when he first jumped onto the screen as a young fella, and he alludes, like, he doesn't go into a lot of detail because there's only so much time that they all get to say a bit, and there's usually 6 of them sitting around the table. But he alludes that he went like a rocket into the stratosphere of fame, and then he sort of says that he pulled away because he got a kick up the bottom. And the movie that did that for him was Alexander. He said he thought it was a sure thing. He said we literally were pulling out our black tuxedos because we were all convinced as we filmed it that this was an Oscar for everyone. So he said, I had it in my head, this was an Oscar for me. And he said, I was just so proud of the work. It was a great historical movie, but it tanked. Absolutely tanked at the box office for whatever reason. I loved it. I was quite surprised when it did tank because I actually enjoyed it. But I'm a bit of like a good period drama. And to see how Alexander the Great marched across all of those continents for his empire and sort of claiming these lands and, you know, sending back home everything he found in the way of treasures, spices and fabrics. And like, I don't know, they were building an empire, and that's what they did in those days. Someone was marching across someone's borders. I thought he as an actor was not bad, but it probably wasn't as good as what I had him in my mind. So I don't know. I think it was his bleached hair that did it for me. He's got dark hair naturally, and they gave him blonde bleached hair. And it just, I don't know, it had that orange tone about it too, and it just looked a bit, yeah. So anyway, the movie tanked, and he sort of touches on it in this interview that was the kick up the bottom he needed, because he was running amok. He was having a good time on the stardom that he had created for himself through previous movies, of which I was like, oh, look at this young man. He's really cool. He was, he's an Irish chap. So he was having a great time, and then he just disappeared off the screens and pretty much went back to acting school, not physically, but in his head. He went back to basics and said, right, why am I doing this? Why did, at the tender age of, I think it was 19, I decided I wanted to be an actor? What's gone wrong? Why has it tanked? It was a big director, a big producer, big budget, big movie. And if you haven't watched it, like, it's worth a watch. And see if you can work out what went wrong in it. I think it was his bleached hair. That's a very shallow. Mention me as a movie critic. Loved it. But it's not going to work because he had the wrong bleach colour in his hair. I think it's just called Alexander. Oh, gosh, now I have to look that up for you. Oh, I tell you. I should have a computer beside me just to Google things as we yibby yabber. Let's have a look. Colin Farrell, English actor, movies. All right, let's see. Oh, he's done so much. He was in Batman, Total Recall. Like, yeah, Alexander, 2004. Let's get a picture up. There he is. Oh, and Angelina Jolie was in it. Oh, see, got to watch it again. See the hair? Like, seriously, son. You've got dark eyebrows. It's never good. You're either a blonde or a blonde. It's too yellow. But it was a massive budget. It should have worked. It should have been up there with the best of it. Yeah, that's them crusading for the Roman Empire. Oliver Stone. See, as he said, it should have worked. It should have worked, but it didn't. Isn't that funny? I wonder if it had been bought out now, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. So yeah, anyway, this interview with him at the table is quite an insight to the kick up the bottom. And of course, then sitting next to him, actually no, Adam Sandler's between him and Brendan Fraser. Now, he's another interesting character too, because he had huge success, especially when The Mummy came along. And he was like the new Hollywood hunk. I don't know if I was a real fan. I loved the Mummy movie because it was just epic. I remember watching it at the cinemas. I'm a bit of a fan of ancient Egypt type tales. So it was right into my wheel court of another historical thing. But then, you know, here's Brendan Fraser swinging around. George of the Jungle was a big hit for him. I thought it was a bit silly. It was probably Encino Man, a bit silly. My husband loved all those. He likes all those silly comedies. Then he disappeared off the radar too. He didn't go into why. I have a feeling it was some health issues. I'm not sure. I shouldn't talk out of school because I don't know. Well, he's come back looking for a really gritty role. And it was, oh my goodness, Whale. The Whale, and I haven't watched it myself yet because it seems heavy. The Whale, 2022. And of course he won, didn't he win an Oscar for it? And he's talking at the table about that return. And he gets very emotional. There's at least 4 or 5 times that he breaks down. He starts to cry. And, of course, some of the others do. And I was like, wow, he's been through a journey. The Whale is about a man, Charlie. a recluse, very unhealthy English teacher. And he is just eating and eating and eating because he's just, I get the impression, sad. And there's a connection or a lost connection with his teenage daughter. And there's a chance to redeem that connection. And that's what the movie's about. So he was talking about, I guess, the CGI involved in making him very, very morbidly obese. So that was interesting. And then he starts delving into the emotions of, all of that. Connecting with someone that you haven't connected to for a while, dealing with an eating disorder. Oh, heavy stuff. So multiple times he starts tearing up in this interview. It was really touching. It was really good to see these big Hollywood lads, very, I guess, emotional. So it was nice. But I don't know if I could watch the boys all the time. Does that make sense? I think I'm more drawn to watching the girls around the table. Hence, I've done 3 of those and only one of the lads. The other chap that was on that table, which was quite interesting, I can't remember his name. He's a Asian gentleman, and he was the little boy in Indiana Jones. Remember the little kid that was like, "Hi, Indy, come on, Indy." He had that funny little cute voice. Well, he then went on to be a little boy in Goonies as a teen actor, and then nothing for, I can't remember the exact time. I think it's like 27 years or 30 years, nothing. And he really, really wanted to be an actor, but nothing. And he touched on Steven Spielberg, who created Indiana Jones, and said that every year at around the same time, Steven Spielberg touches base with him ever since he was a little boy. Isn't that incredible? For his birthday, I think it was, and he gets a gift from Stephen. I thought, wow, another gentleman. So that was interesting. And now he has landed himself a role in a movie. And from what I can gather, I don't know anything about that one. I don't even think it's available here. I'm not sure. And is getting critical acclaim. So he is on the precipice of maybe reinventing his career for the second time, but as an adult. Finally, he's got some nice, gritty roles potentially coming his way. So he's sort of got that connection with Brendan Fraser, who's been out of the scene for a while and has come back. Colin Farrell, out of the scene, has come back. For whatever reason, they've been out of the scene, and sounds like all very different reasons. Adam Sandler, he doesn't say much. He just sits there. He can't really connect to those 3 men because he's just had a career that's just kept going and going. So he's pretty quiet, which is good. He doesn't say much at all, which is good. He's not one of my favourite actors. I sort of feel like he's the same all the time. It's like another chap that I always felt was the same. And I think it's a bit of a comedian thing because they have their repertoire of characters. And then after a while you're like, oh, that's the character from that movie. And that is Jim Carrey. He always feels like he's the same to me. He's gone a bit quiet lately too in movies. Maybe there's something out and I just haven't twigged to it. For a while, Johnny Depp was like that for me. I was like, oh, gosh, there's Jack Sparrow, there's Edward Scissorhand. They sort of get a little bit typecast, but lately Johnny Depp's been doing some more serious, deep movies, and I'm back on his fan again because he's showing me something new, I guess. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. I really enjoy watching them when they're more natural. I don't know, maybe I've been hook, line and sinkered and there's nothing natural about those interviews and it's all very scripted. Quite possibly. I don't think we can believe anything we see in Hollywood. So, yeah, Jennifer Lopez is another one that was in amongst it. She's pretty much as I thought she might be. There was nothing there I didn't think already of her. She seems pretty genuine. works very hard. She's got extremely high work ethic. Yeah. And then the other podcast thing I was listening to the other night was Rebel Wilson. She's brought out her book and talks about her life and how she came to be where she is today. That was interesting. Very interesting lady, Rebel. Talking about her childhood and growing up in Australia, and I sort of resonated with a few of the things she said. That was just a podcast, I think. I better look it up. No, it was YouTube. See, often I listen to them as I go to bed, so I don't really take note of. The Diary of a CEO is the YouTube channel where he interviews Rebel Wilson. So that'd be worth a listen. That's about all the random listening and viewing I'm doing at the moment. It's good when you get on to something a bit new or a little bit out of what you do. I try and keep up with my fellow YouTubers because we're all in the same boat, so it's sort of good to be part of the community that we're all in. But it's nice occasionally just to drift out into something, a little bit different. So I need to come down there. How am I going for time? Plenty of time. I'm just going to keep on this green because then it's done. Because I suspect there won't be a lot of stitching in the bowl because he's only little and I don't want to overpower the piece. So while I'm yibby-yabbering, I'm going to work those last two leaves. They are outside the hoop, but I'll come in here and just do this bit and that bit, and then when I release it from the hoop I should be able to pick it up and finish those last. There's probably only a few centimetres caught, so that's okay. So let me know if there's something you guys have been listening to that's not in our little world that we're all in. You've been giving me some great movies and series to watch. So thank you for that. Okay, let's scoop down here. I like that. It's coming up with something different for each plant or flower's leaves. This is really becoming a bit of a sampler too. So when I do other projects, I sort of go back to this piece and go, all right, well, how did I do those leaves? What did I do there? It's sort of going to be nice to have this piece. So I'm doing stem stitch if you're a newbie. And I always work from the tip to the base when I'm doing this stitch. These ones are getting a bit big. Let's just bring them back a little bit smaller, girl. Been on the lookout for another cloth like this one. I haven't found anything yet. Just having the stash to maybe pull out for another rainy day project, so to speak. Okay. So it's quite a quick stitch, isn't it? That's really helped give it that strappy feel, which is very much these plants. I've started filming for you guys too, a bit of a walk of my new area that I've moved to. So I'm not sure when you'll see the video, But yeah, taking you on a bit of a beach walk, a lake walk. I want to take you for a bit of a drive through town look. Thought it might be something interesting for you. Just not sure when you'll see it, mind you. There's little snippets of footage that I'm just sort of gathering when I'm somewhere and going, oh yeah, that's something that might be okay to film. Trying to do a little bit more walking. It's tricky because Barham has always been my favourite place to walk, from the bush to the beach to the streets. Like, there's just opportunities to cross all of those environments in one walk. And when I was holidaying here, I'd go out at sunrise and walk for a couple of hours like I was shocker. I was just disappeared into the scrub. And that's all well and good, but then along come YouTube, and my best time for filming for you guys is in the morning. I'm the most alert. I've often woken with ideas, or I've laid there bringing myself awake and going, oh, I really feel like stitching this piece, or, you know. So as soon as I've made my coffee, I check on, you know, what's news around the town, as in YouTube, who's got a video up, and then maybe think, oh, I'll catch that one later in the day, you know, just drinking my coffee. And then come into my room and film a video for you guys on one of the projects, or if not two. Sometimes I do 3 videos, depends if I feel like a good stitch. And in the past, I would have gone for a walk. So Brisbane, I didn't do a lot of walking because it's just, I don't know, just never inspired me down there. But here it certainly does. So I'm thinking, well, if I have this little routine now where I get up and have a coffee and then come straight into my room, when am I going to walk? Because you very quickly get into the heat of the day. But yesterday I filmed my video and then I went straight for a walk, and it was fantastic. It was like a nice little treat at the end of the video. So I'm going to try and do that. So film, and instead of going and sitting down and editing, well, I don't edit anyway, but, you know, combine the bits that I've filmed into something and then load it onto YouTube. There's usually a 20-minute task there after every video. And I thought, instead of doing that ASAP, leave it. Put the iPad on charge and go for a walk. And then later in the day, when I get a chance to sit down, I was wondering why there was only 2 threads. The little bucker's still this side. There should be 3. So yeah, later in the day is when I sit down and pop the video that I'd filmed in the morning up on YouTube. I'm a bit routine driven. So if I can get myself in a good routine that has some healthy behaviours involved, because I could sit and stitch all day, sit and talk and stitch all day, as you may have noticed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up, have my coffee, check out my fellow YouTube buddies, see what they're all up to, what they're creating, etc. Come into the craft room and get my stitching fix. And then don't do any uploading, editing and all that bizzo, because there's another hour of my day gone pretty quick. And yeah, go for a walk. And I'm sort of liking that idea, because it's like, I think it'll help my back a little bit too. I'm getting a little bit crampy between the shoulders from leaning into you guys. I'm not sitting straight, so my neck, especially if I do 3 videos, that's 3 hours, one after the other. Project. Oh, I love it, but oh, I could do 6 hours mentally. But the muscles between the shoulder blades start to cramp up. just going to pick up that stitch there. I ran out of thread. Have I got 3? Yep. Yeah, muscles start cramping, neck starts getting a bit stiff. So I'm thinking if I get off my tush, put my boots on and go for a walk after each filming session. Yeah. Trying to get some healthy habits, you know. Try and do it now while everything's fresh and exciting in my new area before it becomes a routine not to. Does that make sense? Retrain the brain a little bit. Look at that, they're all done. I've just got to catch the few that go past. Yeah, those up there. That's all good. I'll keep that little thread to one side. So let's have a play with some chocolate colours. Have we got enough browns to do it? Ooh, everything's so mustardy. That's not bad. Gee, that's not a colour I would have thought to pick up. Maybe that guy? No. Well, I say that, but maybe I need to go a little bit darker. Don't be too matchy-matchy. Let's have a play. It's a classic brown, that one. 3031. If you don't have that in your little stash of colours, if you're building thread colours, yeah, it's not a bad one. Where's my needle? Okay. I've just had a look at the time. It's 40 minutes. I need to pause the video because I think I'm about to sneeze. Back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Oh my goodness. I don't know what set me off. Might have been pulling those couple of threads out of the box. Maybe there was a little bit of fibre or... Oh my goodness. I've got my composure again. Oh gosh, if you guys had been sitting around the table, you would have thinking, are you all right? Oh boy, boy. So what am I going to do here? Just keep it simple, girl. Do I do a horizontal little stitch? That could work. Just to show that that leaf is sort of going off to at an angle. Do my stitches at an angle. And keep them loose, as in not too closely stitched together. So what was I chatting about? Oh my goodness, I've completely lost my focus, my train of thought. Major sneezing attack. It'd be fibres in there, wouldn't it? There'd have to be like little fluffy bits floating through the air when I pull out some of these threads. And some of these threads are really old. My cross-stitching days. Now this one, so I've pretty much followed the petal or the bit of dried leaf, like it's like an onion shell coming off this bulb. So I think I'll do the similar thing here. So I'll head up to there, but keep a bit of an angle about it and just sort of scooch my way up there. That's technical speak for those of you who are new to embroidery. Not really. Sometimes it's hard to articulate what is in my brain. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Just a little hint. And I'm thinking I might keep this thread colour going for the two here, but stitch in the lighter areas. I don't know. We'll see. maybe same sort of thing. It's sort of heading up that way. So if I angle my needle, stay in the light zone, I think I'd struggle to match that colour anyway. It's nearly a mushroomy, the underside of a mushroom. So I think if I just stay with this one, which is a lighter version, and stitch the pale bits, because I do like that colour and it'd be a shame to lose that tone. Okay. Yep, love, 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 love that. All right, leave it at that. Don't be doing any more, girl. You will make it all muddy looking. And what am I doing with this knot? Okay, happy, happy. So let's have a play with this chocolate. I keep it fine and use just this 2 strands, and maybe just do a bit of outlining. Bring it forward a little bit. Let me just save that little morsel. Pop you away. Okay, we're knotted. Maybe I stay down low and follow the shade line first. I might do a similar sort of stitch, just keep it loose, but focus in on the bottom here. Gosh, now my tummy's rumbling. Seriously, I don't have time to be munching on something. Oh, talk about munching. My goodness, I had an incident. I found in the cupboard, I was looking for a snack. And that's always trouble, isn't it? But anyway, I went ratting through the cupboard and I found a bag of mixed dry fruit left over from Christmas. Expiry dates were still fine, but close to being pretty much no good. I still have a couple months on it. Anyway, I don't think that's got anything to do with what happened next, but could have, I don't know. So I've grabbed this bag of beautiful mixed dry fruit. So there's apples, pears, even a little bit of pineapple, prunes, apricots, beautiful. And they're quite big, like they're not chopped up. You pull out the apple and it literally looks like a slice of apple. So I'm like, oh, now this is interesting. I shall give this a little bit of a nibble. So as the day went on, it's sitting on the kitchen bench and I just kept nibbling. Another one, another couple, handful of prunes, a couple bits of apple. And I sort of got to the end of the day and I'm thinking, gosh, I've eaten half that packet. Didn't think much more of it. You know what I'm about to say. It was probably 8 o'clock that night. My tummy started rumbling. Everything started rumbling. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's that all about? And I started thinking about what I'd done for the day, and I hadn't really eaten a lot, bar this fruit. And I'd obviously got into that fruit. And I started actually thinking, well, I've probably eaten as my belly is starting to really rumble, and I had a bit of pain, a bit of cramping. And my husband's like, what have you eaten? Because he felt fine. He didn't have any fruit. He's not a fan of dried fruit. He'd rather a fresh piece of fruit. Anyway, I'm thinking, well, I think I've eaten at least 6 apricots, 3 pears, probably 2 apples, at least half a pineapple. And 12 prunes. He's just looked at me and said, well, you deserve everything that is coming your way. And everything is fine, but my tummy, I think everything started to, it's dehydrated fruit like that. I suspect everything started to rehydrate. So suddenly I felt so full and sore in my tummy, and I was like, oh, I feel like I've eaten so much. And I think it was that fruit all coming back to life. Oh my goodness, I tell you. It passed, like about 2 hours later, my tummy settled down and everything was fine. But, oh boy, it was like I came alive. And when you start thinking about, just snacking on that type of food, and if it was to reconstitute to a bowl of fruit on the bench, there's no way you would have eaten that much if it was still in its natural form. So, yeah. I gorged. Gluttony was what was going on. So I'm just using this brown sparingly and using it as just a little feature. Instead of stitching into the bulb itself, I'm sort of just scooching around the place with little stitches to create dark and shade, emphasis on the dark. Really bring it out. So the moral of the story is beware of dried fruit. Don't nibble on it all day. There's numerous morals here, because it can suddenly turn into a bowl of fruit about 4 hours later in your tummy. It's like at Christmas when we overeat. And in amongst that platter of cheese and nibblies, you throw in half a dozen apricots and half an apple, and then you're like, oh. That's what happened. I don't think I'll be going near that bag of dried fruit for a few days, let me tell you. I sort of feel, just talking about it makes me feel a bit, not woozy, but overdid it. I don't think I'll stitch the little roots. I'm going to leave them black. I don't want them to be really, but I'm happier with that bulb. I feel like it's found its place now, even though it's crammed up against that lacy edge. It's probably a little bit tight down there, but it has worked, so I'm okay with that. A couple more stitches up here. And then I think my little crocus is finished. Let's just get that there in. Yeah, I like that. It's just given it a little detail. I could probably even stitch around those, but I'm going to back off a bit. Less is more. Let's get it out of the hoop. How are we going for time? Oh, we've still got a little bit of time. I think what I'll do is take it out of the hoop, and I'm going to finish those green bits on the leaf. And then then I can call it completed. I won't have any homework to do on this piece. Okay, let's get our thread back again for this green. So I don't have much to do. There. Now there's a little bit. There's actually more hidden in that hoop than I thought. Should technically put the hoop back on. I'll give it a go. I think I can be gentle with my touch so that it doesn't pucker. There's only a few stitches to do, so I should be fine. Just keep it loose, girl. There we go. Okay. Let's try this little guy. I'll get him sorted. Gee, that green there is bright, isn't it? There we go. Scooting down there. And done. Not too tight. Take it easy, girl. Okay, knock that little guy off. I'll keep that little morsel because I think that would be enough to do a few stitches on the perimeter. Maybe not. It's less than I thought. And then this is the last little piece. Then we can all toddle off. Start our days, finish our days, whatever it is for you on the time zone that you are in. Okay, where are we? So we've got a stem here. So I might nestle my first stitch up into that beige. There we go, that's you sorted. Finish. I just got that little bit over where my thumb is there. And we are done. Oh, is that enough? Yeah, good. Right, last little bit. Just got to get probably 4 stitches in here. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's that extra green, the third green, because we had the fresh green, which I did tone down a little bit with a bit of a darker green. And then I went in with a warm leafy green from the pencils, the Inktense pencils. And that green has just brought it all together. And they're very fresh green little leaves on this crocus, so I think I'm okay with all that. Well, I know I'm okay with all that. Oops. Another little knot. Oops. Oh my gosh. Really using the bits now. There we go. All right, my friends, I'm going to love and leave yous, and you guys enjoy your day. But crocus is done. There we go. All right. I will catch you all in the next video. Bye for now, guys. Bye.